It is episode 172. Welcome into the Benches Cleared podcast, where we cover the best rivalry in all of sports. I am Jesse Gutierrez, and I represent the side of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yikes! Yeah, I'm Dave, and I represent the side of the Dodgers and the Los Angeles Lakers, I guess.
Yeah,
LA, City of Stars. LA, get anybody you want. LA, just the place to be.
Gosh, I thought we were the ones to feel bad for, but this is absolutely ridiculous.
Is it?
I think it is. I mean,
It is.
The worst part is I got into basketball way later in life. I just started kind of my first time with like really starting to watch basketball was in like 2017 after Giants terrible 2017. And I couldn't be just be a Warriors fan. Lived my whole life in Southern California. Was never raised as a Warriors fan like I was raised as a Giants fan. So I started watching the Lakers because it was Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma. Like, oh, it's going to be, you're going to grow up with these guys. And then they get LeBron. And so, insane. I just can't believe. I didn't realize Luka Doncic was, because I'm still pretty casual, that he's 25. Like, to trade him in his prime like that is insane.
In baseball terms, I guess, you're getting somebody who's super productive, who's an all-star as well, which makes this trade so weird. It's like,
right.
Like you really
the perfect Anthony Davis, I think, has to be Freddie Freeman, except Freddie Freeman's not as hurt.
Yeah, Freddie Freeman's a constant in your lineup most of the time, But
right.
So I don't know who I can compare it with. People are trying to compare to Mookie, and it's like, no,
that
deal. That deal's still worse. That deal's still pretty bad. Like, you didn't get an all-star back. You can say whatever you want about Verdugo. He's not the quality of Doncic. So, yeah, I don't know who to compare it with, but it's just like if you got a 25-year-old for somebody who's aging, a superstar who's aging, and yeah, I don't know, man. It was shocking when I saw it. The game had ended like a couple hours before that. I was watching the Laker game, and it was coming off a high because they beat the Knicks. It was a great game, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, this happened." I'm like, "Yeah, this guy got hacked. This can't be true."
100% right. I saw like 1,000 videos of, my gosh, you hacked. The same like videos and like the feelings you get when like Jeff Passan puts out something crazy, and you're like, "Well, this is Jeff Passan, so this is not like, John Heyman or anything. So maybe we should believe this has to be real." But it's like, wait, did he get hacked? Because he actually got hacked that one time. But yeah, it's insane.
There was also a crazy, at the end of the night, I was talking with some buddies, and we're like, Anthony Davis has a prank show coming up. This would be the ultimate troll if we wake up tomorrow and it was just a prank. I'm like,
right.
That'd be so hilarious. But, it was true. We got Doncic, Luka, and that's awesome.
Just spoils
LA,
of riches.
Baby. LA, baby.
Spoils of riches. I'm sick of it. All I've been hearing about is LA, Marsha. I think we should. I think we need a timeline cleanse where we just don't even hear about anything LA for a little bit. Let's talk about some good heyday stuff. We got a extremely special guest to come and hang out and to reminisce and talk about a lot of stuff coming up. And we're gonna bring him in right now. And now we like to welcome in our good friend, Giants reliever extraordinaire, the guy who threw the last pitch in the 2021 regular season, Dominic Leone. How are you doing today, my man?
Good, fellas. What's going on? Glad to have the time to get on and talk some baseball with you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for taking some time with us.
Of course.
For sure. Yeah. Obviously, I think we got to start in 2021. It was probably the best. I would imagine one of the best, obviously probably the best year since I've been alive between the Dodgers-Giants rivalry. What was like that dynamic, like being so close all year when, at the beginning of the year, you guys had, there was multiple places saying you guys had 0% chance to make the playoffs and to win the division and to win 106 games, or 107 games. My fault. I'm already backwards. I mean, what was it like going through the year?
It's funny because going into that season, I didn't know what to expect. I was a non-roster invite. I knew obviously a lot of the names that were there, the Busters and the Craws and the Belts, and those guys are baseball icons, not just San Francisco icons. And so, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what their personalities were like, but it quickly changed once I got to spring training, where I noticed like these are just some down home ball players. They love to get after it. They love to work hard, and that was the message and the vibe that was permeating the entire room. And obviously, as you saw, as the season kicked off and things started to roll, it was like, all right, where do we fit in this whole debate? Because obviously the Dodgers are coming off of yet another Dodgers solid year, and was anybody going to chase them down? Well, there was never any wavering thought, especially with the leaders in that clubhouse, with obviously Buster, Belt, Craw, Evan Longoria, guys like that you always had confidence that you were going to show up to the yard and win. And we never tried to compare ourselves to anybody else. We just wanted to be the best version of the Giants we could be that day. And sure enough, I mean, it went down a landslide of just victories and success, and we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I remember like the Dodgers going to lose a game because they'd be like, the division might be over. Like they'd win a game, and you look at the standings like, oh crap, the Giants just won again. Like you guys just refused to lose that season. It was such a really intense finish to the season. You guys ended up on top, but yeah, one of the best division chases that year for sure.
For sure, and that was the best part about it. I think is even though we never had like a large gap or a nice cushion, it made it fun. It made it fun where every day you came to the yard, you knew what you had to do. You had to win a game, you had to stay on top, and you had to just constantly provide your best, because you knew the team in blue was going to go and they were going to give everything on their side too. So
I will say, I think we were robbed of a better NLCS, because it should have been the Giants and Dodgers. The way it ended up being with the two best records in that first the format, it was ridiculous. We should have had that for the second round.
It's tough too. And I mean, like, obviously both teams, we fought down, to the wire, and then it's like, it's almost anticlimactic to play each other in that first round. I really wish it could have been that, super, super magical series. But again, I mean, that's how it all shook out. And you had at least a 5-game series.
Right. And those games were really close. I went to two of them in LA with a super windy game that I couldn't. I mean, it was like the most wind I've ever seen. I mean, getting into the ballpark, I've never seen the trees sway in the way they did. So, I mean, it was only 5 games, but at least it was insane every single game. So, that year was one of your best years as a big leaguer. At what point did you, because at the beginning of the year, you were, like you said, non-roster invite. And then by, mid-season, you were one of the back end arms of that bullpen, shutting down games. So like, at what point did you feel your stuff just elevating, or was it something with like the Giants coaching, or?
It was a combination of a lot of things. And it really started in spring training. I felt good going into that offseason and then coming into the season, signing with the Giants. I loved their coaching staff. I loved guys like they had Brian Bannister and Andrew Bailey and Craig Albernaz, and just a handful of people around the mix of things that I really bought into and I really trusted. And not to mention their strength staff, their training staff. I mean, everybody was top notch. And so from the jump at spring training, I felt really good. I felt confident in where I was, and I pitched really well in spring. The way it shook out, I didn't end up making the club out of camp, but I continued that momentum all the way through April, May. And then once I got my opportunity in June, I was so familiar with those guys just from camp and whatnot, and talking with the big league guys as well, where like I just came in and we just kept the ball rolling. There was no transition period. I've been lucky to, have had 5 or 6 years of big league service time under my belt. At that point, I just kind of hit the ground running, and I said, hey, I'm going to shore up whatever we got going on down here. And, I wasn't gunning for anybody's job. That was the beauty of that bullpen, is everybody knew they had their specific role, but you could do it in the 4th, you could do it in the 8th, you could do it in the 9th, you could do it in the 1st. It didn't matter. There were no egos down there. And we really we bonded over that. And again, it made the transitions much easier when you got a guy that got called up or got a guy replaced, stuff like that. We didn't miss a beat. We just kept driving, and we knew the goal was to put up zeros.
Yeah, and you were the like we said earlier, the last pitch to clinch the division in 2021. You've always been known kind of as like a super fiery guy. I think everyone kind of used that last pitch in some pump up videos going into the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, what's that like? Clinching the division and being the last one with the ball. I mean, I know it was a giant lead, but at the same time, you've been in so many close games. You were trusted with so many small leads. Was it still that intense with like an 8-run lead?
It was big for me. Not only in my personal career, but obviously I knew for the team. And as I saw the lead build, I mean the lead built early too. So we were kind of hanging down there. We were laughing, cutting it up and having a good time. And you could start to see that, like, okay, things were serious. We gave up a couple runs, and I remember the phone call coming down, and I had pitched a lot. I mean, what a lot of people don't realize is from June 1st, when I got called up, I pitched in 52% of the team's games down the stretch. And so, like, that's a pretty heavy workload in a short amount of time. So they were cautious about it, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't overuse me. But I remember the phone call coming down, and when my name came across, and they're like, hey, does go ahead and finish this thing. I mean, I was as fired up as ever. It was like I was getting called into a playoff game. And I knew just the significance of what it meant for San Francisco, what it meant for the team, what it meant for the division. I wanted to be in that spot. I wanted to be the guy that got to close. Obviously, you saw, the emotions come out afterwards. I didn't realize it at the time, but, afterwards, the Buster hug, was a thing. I didn't realize that was a thing. And, now that's an added caveat to how special that moment was just for me.
So, as a reliever, I've always wondered, do you prefer shutting down a rowdy crowd, or do you like amping up the home crowd more? Which one feels better in your opinion?
So here's the thing. It obviously, it depends on where your game is. I mean, if there was nothing better for me than when Dodger Stadium was quiet and you could hear a pin drop, that's what we like to do. You like to go in and you like to shut the other crowd down. And then when you're at home, there's nothing better than just letting it all out on the home mound. And you've got, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 people behind you that are just going nuts. I mean, honestly, it's a coin flip, but it really obviously depends on where you're playing and what the situation is.
Totally.
Right. So yeah, 2021, I mean, it was magical. I mean, I think there's a lot of fan bases that like to, use some cheating lab accusations. But what do you think happened from 2021 to 2022, like in just the kind of magical, everything's going right, and in 2022 when things started to go wrong, not being able to get that momentum back?
It's tough. It's tough any year to repeat the success you had. And, I have to give the Dodgers credit. That's why what they have done over the last decade and more has been so impressive is because those guys, you know, and trust me, I know a lot of those guys. I'm friends
We
with a
don't
lot
have
of
to
them
give him credit though.
players.
We don't have to.
I have to give credit where credit's due. It is an incredibly hard thing to be consistent in the game of baseball. That's the reason why they call it the game of failure is, if you succeed 3 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. And so
Yeah.
as a team, when you can have the success that we did in 2021 to turn around and repeat it again in 2022, I mean, man, it's not easy. It's not easy to win 100 games. And sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. I think we came into that next year just as confident, obviously with the sting of the NLDS loss, but, we were just confident. We had a lot of the same group, a lot of returning guys. There were some definite pieces. I know Belt, was banged up to start, and, obviously losing Buster, that's a really hard guy to replace. Buster, Buster was never the super vocal leader. He always led by example, and his presence just made it so much nicer in the clubhouse, where there was just a confidence that he exuded. Having those guys, Belt being banged up and Buster obviously moving on and retiring, it played a bigger part than I think a lot of guys would initially say. We had super talented players, but again, to be as consistent as we were in 2021, and then to lose pieces like we did, it's a hard recipe to conjure up another 107 win season, especially in a division when you're just constantly playing good talent with the Dodgers, the Padres, the D-backs. They came on, and Colorado is never an easy place to play. So it's a tough division.
Right.
Tough thing to do year in, year out.
Definitely. I know you talked a little bit about the Buster effect, and I think you might be in a really small percentage of people who've thrown to Buster and Yadier Molina. So I mean, like, what is there like what's like, I guess, just the difference in throwing to different catchers, and what's the difference of throwing to those two guys, and maybe even the difference between those two guys?
You're right. That is something that, again, I had the pleasure of doing. I got to throw to Yachty, I got to throw to Buster, and there's two completely different styles there. However, their professionalism, the way they go about their business, is very similar. Their work ethic is insane. They're all, Yachty was more of a vocal leader than Buster, but again, both of them brought so much value to a pitching staff, and really helped me catapult in my career, learning through failure, learning through success, how to stay calm in a mindset where, I knew that those guys were in the biggest of situations throughout their career. By the time I got to them, they had won World Series and they had done big things. So like my biggest moment was their smallest moment. And so it was cool to just be humbled in that spot, but also realize, like, man, I can learn so much from these guys. And I did on a daily basis. They taught in different ways, but their work ethic was always there. And they were both of them were amazing guys to be around, great clubhouse dudes. Obviously, two surefire Hall of Famers in my book.
Who'd you shake off more?
Oh, I will say this. So I got to Yachty first. So back in 2018, I got traded to St. Louis, and back then I didn't have any reputation in the game. I mean, I had a couple of years. I remember getting there, and there was actually a meeting in spring training where it was like, hey, like, don't be afraid to shake off Yachty, and he told us this, don't be afraid to shake me off, throw what you want to throw. But, I remember the first couple months, spring training, maybe the first month or two of the season, I was like, oh man, like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can shake Yachty, because that guy knows. Yachty was notorious for, if you shook him a couple times, he was so convicted in what he was doing, and he was so prepared that, like, he, if he wanted a fastball, he's calling the fastball, and you shake, he'll call it again and just kind of give you this like little head tilt, and you're like, all right, I better go with Yachty here. So I think at that point I ended up shaking Buster more. I'm not a guy that likes to shake anyways, but just with the initial reputation that Yachty has, and the demeanor that he has, where he's so convicted behind what he does, and he's almost forceful, where he's like, hey, like, let's go, throw this pitch, like, come on.
It's almost like when your girl says like everything's fine, but it's not fine, so don't shake me.
Yeah,
exactly. So I steered clear of that, and then again, once I got to Buster, I was like, hey, just whatever you put down, man, I'm going with you. I learned my lesson.
Did you? A lot of players have routines or superstitions, like, oh, I'll eat this every time, before the game or whatever. Did you have anything like that you did?
No, not really. There's little things over the years, but nothing that like sticks out to me. Like, I wasn't a guy that like had to put my left sock on before my right sock or anything crazy like that. We had a good routine where, it was every day. You try to keep it consistent. When you're at home, it's easier because you have all the resources. You go get in the hot tub, you go get stretched, you get your jersey on, you go out. Like, there was nothing crazy or ridiculous that I did that, nothing of note, nothing that's like super funny or cool. I was kind of boring, I guess.
Well, speaking, I guess, of the St. Louis Giant connection, you've and also played with you in the White Sox too. I've seen you talk about John Brebbia a lot, and you kind of got a little bromance going on. Is that like your number one in baseball, or is there someone else you think I could beat it?
It's funny. I haven't, even though I've been done, since the end of the season, I haven't really sat and looked at, who I played the longest with, but I think it's John Brebbia. And so
right.
I'll always have a special spot in my heart for John. He is one of a kind. He truly is just an oddball through and through. St. Louis, and it was really funny that, like, after St. Louis, I bounced to Cleveland for a year, but then like I saw that John signed with San Francisco, and immediately it made me draw to San Francisco, where I'm like, man, like, even if we have the worst of years, we'll be cutting up, laughing, having a good time in that bullpen just because of his nature. Just how John is. He's so quirky and strange, but really talented, and his story is outrageous. It's just one of those things that, like, it's a guy that I'll never forget. I'll tell stories about John, at any of these, type of, reminiscing events and stuff like that. I've got a lot of high regard for John, and just I'm glad to call him a friend.
Were you I'm trying to remember if this happened in 2022 or 2023 when Gabe Kapler went out to get the ball from him. Oh. And he kind of did that hid the ball from Gabe Kapler. Did that shock you at all? Or was that 2022 or 23?
I think it was 2022. It might have been 2023, but I stayed in touch with John.
Right.
I knew all of the antics that he was, preparing to pull or wanting to pull. And like I said, you never knew what John was going to do, getting pulled from a game, or with what's happening in a game, or like, you honestly, you never knew. It was a coin flip every time out. And so you also learned to just be ready for anything. So him like hiding the ball, or, if he gave him a giant hug, like nothing would have surprised me.
Yeah, I think when it first happened, we were still coming off, I guess, kind of fresh from the Zach Littell incident. So we didn't know, I think, at first, if it was like, oh man, is everyone just going against Gabe Kapler? Like, what's the deal here? Like, but there's a lot of stuff being made about Gabe Kapler, about, did the clubhouse turn on him, or, was he a really bad manager? But it seemed like a lot of guys really liked him. I know you guys kind of bonded over shoes for a bit, right?
Yeah, and Gabe again. I liked Gabe. I thought he was a good manager. I thought he did a great job with us in 2021. And again, it just speaks. It's the same thing as a player. It's
Mm.
hard to be consistent and be, on top of your game year in, year out. Not to say that Gabe wasn't on top of his game, but he's just he was a different personality. And,
Right.
I think he started to get blamed for not having the same year that we did the year prior in
Right.
2021. I don't think that was fair to him. I can't answer for him in terms of how things went, but from me as a player, I certainly have no ill will towards the guy. I thought he did a great job with us, and tried to do everything he could to repeat the success.
I will say, in I don't know, 21 or 22, when I was at Dodger Stadium watching him make pitching changes. Those shoes were bright, man. Those
He did,
his shoes.
yeah, he did take. He tried to go a different route with the shoes. He went like super bold, super loud. But hey, to each his own. He could pull it off. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't. I couldn't do it. I've got a couple flashy pairs, but not like that.
Right. Right. So I
So we
mean,
talked about your we talked about your ex teammates, but
Sure,
was there
I
any
got a lot of them.
was there anybody that you would have loved to pitch with or play with that you didn't get to?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go down that rabbit hole, like you want to go all time greats. I would have loved to be on a staff with guys like Pedro Martinez. That was my favorite guy growing up. I idolized him, being a short guy myself. Like that was the dude that I always looked up to. Guys around the league that were there, during my time. I mean, I'll be honest, I got to play with a lot of really interesting and great players. From guys like Adam Wainwright. I got to play with Justin Verlander. I got to play with Max Scherzer. I got to play with Jacob deGrom. And I'm gonna miss a lot of King Felix. I got to play with King Felix.
mm,
I was blessed to have a lot of talent around me when I got to play, and I got to learn a lot from these guys. And there's not really one guy that sticks out to me. I like to watch from afar, and I appreciate the art of pitching. And there's so many good guys in the game now that that have so much talent. So yeah, it would be nice to. It'd be nice to learn the Blake Trinan sweeper, or the like Gosman's splitter, or Webby's sinker. It'd be nice to maybe take some more notes than what I did. Maybe I'd still be playing, but I was really privileged over the course of my career to play with a lot of really, really good dudes. So there's not one guy that sticks out to me that other than like the old time greats, guys that have moved on. So
favorite punch out?
Oh, honestly, the Hosmer one's up there. Sorry,
Okay.
Hos, but it's honestly, it's probably the biggest moment of my career.
Right.
Other than that, I grew up a Boston Red Sox fan. I grew up in Connecticut, and so I grew up a Red Sox guy. And my heyday was obviously when Red Sox won their first World Series in forever. Big Papi was a big part of that. I got to strike out Big Papi. I got to strike out guys like Albert Pujols and Trout and Shohei, but like Papi was another big one. But I think the most iconic strikeout of my career is got to be the final out of 2021.
Nice.
I feel like a lot of players have a hard time admitting that they were fans of certain teams. I don't know if they think I don't know if that's something that like guys just don't want to put out there. But are you able, now that you're transitioning to being back to being a fan, are you able are you going back to just following the Red Sox? Or are you going to be able to, is there a certain team that you're like more interested in following, or do you kind of just, a little bit of everything?
No, that's the thing about being within the business for as long as I was. I have friends and people that I call friends and ex teammates throughout the league. I mean, in all 30 teams, basically. So I pull for guys that I know and that I have relationships with, and I know their families, and I know their kids, and I know their wives, and like that's more where my fandom lies now. I respect all the organizations. I mean, heck, I played for 9 or 10 of them, so I made my third around the league. So I have a lot of respect for a lot of people within the game, and so to just focus in on one team or one brand or one organization, I couldn't do it. I've got too many friends, too many people around that that I like to follow and I like to root on.
It's almost like fantasy baseball, like you have your favorite team, but that the guy who's up is on your fantasy team. You're like, I don't want him to strike out though,
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I know it's tough, especially now. Like if I watch a game and a guy that I was a former teammate is hitting, and a guy that was a former teammate is pitching, I'm like, dang, what do I do here? Who's got the better stats? Who's not going to be as pissed with the result?
Right. So, I mean, getting into this new venture that you got going on, the E3 Sports Performance, is this is just for youth, or what ages are you guys training?
Yeah, so I appreciate you guys bringing this up. This is something that I wanted to get into once I got out of the game, and that's basically just bring my knowledge and experiences to kids. It could be youth age. We haven't really set an age limit on it, but I'm looking to just try and help provide value and bring baseball experience to not only youth, but high school, college, and even current pro guys, whoever's in the area that's willing and able to work with me and want to work with me and get better and see if I can provide some value to their game. That's what I'm looking to do. And E3 has given me that opportunity to come on board with them. They've got a really good group of kids that are there now, high school age kids and youth kids. And so I just look to kind of dive right in and bring what I can and hopefully start, producing some big time, Division I athletes and hopefully some future pro guys out of the Charleston area.
Yeah, man, that's pretty awesome.
Thanks.
So, because you were a driveline guy for a while. Is this kind of like to try to, help players become like to learn this kind of stuff earlier, to try to be more successful, learn different things, or is driveline in this kind of like way off? Because I haven't played since like Little League, so this is a completely different dynamic for me now.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I when I started my career back in 2012, it was still kind of the old school age of baseball where analytics hadn't really broken in yet. And, my playing career spanned 2012 to 2024. And I got to see the evolution of analytics and maybe a swing almost too far to analytics. And then people kind of wavered back. And so I think I bring a unique approach. And the way I looked at it, especially in my older days, like the last 2 or 3 years of my career, I started to notice that like I could help maybe bridge the gap of, people just being analytic junkies and wanting to see numbers, and then also understanding the nuances and the art of pitching.
Right.
There are things that you can't quantify and put, in a stat sheet that can make you a successful pitcher. And so I think that's my goal out of this whole thing, this whole venture that I'm going on, is how do I bring the new age of analytics? Because it ain't going anywhere, but how do I bring a knowledge and an understanding of that world and mesh it with the old school of, how to pitch, how to sequence, how to change timing and get hitters timing off, and how to mesh those two worlds and bring it to kids earlier so that when they hit the upper levels, they can make that transition a lot easier. I think nowadays, especially in youth baseball, you're starting to see that analytics is king, and that might not necessarily be advantageous for those kids. It might not help them improve. It might almost, create bigger gaps for them to improve and develop their skills. So, when you just fall in love with one side of things, numbers, or even just the old school, it's tough. It's tough to make strides. So, being able to blend that world, blend those two worlds together, and bring it to the younger kids, and if they can develop an understanding of it at an early age, hopefully they'll grow quicker and progress faster.
Yep. Well, Dominic, I think you're a really nice guy, and I think that maybe we need to create some controversy here, and maybe I don't know if trying to get you canceled is the right word that we might be going for. But you've been through a lot of cities, right?
Yeah.
And I got it. What's the best food city? Let's get people angry and offended that you don't pick their city. What is like? I mean, I don't know if you want to. I would imagine out of the ones you've played with, just because you've been there longer. But if there's one that just reigns supreme, I mean,
all right.
Come with it.
So I am quite a foodie. I do enjoy. That was one of the best parts about travel is when you go to a new city, you're out, you're finding the local spots. Speaking of John Brebbia, if you need to get John on, he will give you the best coffee spots in every city. The guy finds the hole in the wall. But for me, like, it's tough to pinpoint one spot. Most fresh on my memory is Chicago. It's hard to beat Chicago cuisine. They've got great stuff. But if you want fresh seafood, I found the freshest seafood is obviously Seattle, in my opinion. Walking a Pike Place Market and watching them sling fish back and forth, it's tough to beat the quality there. Italian food, New York and Boston, that's probably top notch. St. Louis, sneaky good Italian food. Kansas City, one of the sneakiest good food cities around. It's really just all about what you want to go with. I mean, I know that one of my favorite cities obviously was Chicago to go eat. We always would go out whenever we landed. There's a plethora of options. It's a good melting pot of kind of everything. You've got Italian, you've got Mexican, you've got seafood, you've got all sorts of stuff there. I would hate to just nominate one city as the best. I'm kind of
trying to find a way around it.
I'm saving myself here, but I think for each spot in the country, there are some really, really good places. Like I said, I'll say this: seafood, it's Seattle. Italian, I got to go New York. I think best steak. Sneaky best steak, Milwaukee.
Really?
Milwaukee. Carnivore Steakhouse in Milwaukee. If I'm ever there and they see this podcast, I'd love for them to get me in because unbelievable food.
We'll at them. We'll try to make this out. We'll try to make magic happen.
Yeah. No,
you made 2021 happen for us. We could try to make,
There you go. I appreciate it. Yeah. Giants Nation. Get me a specialized knife at a carnivore in Milwaukee.
Is that hotel really haunted when you guys went to visit Milwaukee?
The Pfister Hotel. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any incidents ever?
I didn't. Nope. I'm a hard sleeper. Once I'm out, I'm out.
They try to wake you up, but you were gone.
If there were spirits and ghosts moving stuff around my room, I didn't hear them.
Yeah, if you just pretend to still be asleep or don't investigate, I found you can't find anything haunted.
That's it.
My
right?
wife is always
That's
like,
true.
"Hey, did you
That's
hear
true.
that?" Nope, it's Trump TV.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear about it.
There's no paranormal activity if you don't hear it.
Yeah,
Right?
you just ignore it.
Right.
Oh man. I mean, swinging back into baseball, we couldn't get you on the food. What's like the hardest lineup you think you've gone through?
Oh man, throughout the entirety of my career, again,
Right.
I'm probably gonna offend somebody because
I like that.
I did play with a lot of different teams. I played a lot of different lineups. Um, it's gonna piss you off, but it's gotta be the 2021 Dodgers. Hands down. That lineup 1 through 9 and even
Right.
1 through 10 or 12 was there were no breaks. You had to be on, especially as a reliever. You had to be on go from the second you hit the field. Those guys are just so talented, top to bottom, and I've got nothing but respect for those guys. Now, it just so happens I think my numbers against them are actually fairly good. So I'm almost giving myself a little pat on the back, but
Right.
that's the lineup I think for sure that stands out the most. I mean, from Mookie to Trey to Justin Turner to
Right.
Belly. I mean, all those guys. It was just like, golly, where's the hole? Where's the hole
Right.
in the line that I can just take a breather? But
Yeah, you can't even. I mean, because you're relieving, so it's not like you have to go 1 through 9. You're hoping for a 3, but there's not really a 3 that looks pretty,
no,
like a breeze to run through.
no, there really wasn't, especially that year. Again, I mean, for our 107 wins, their 106 was like, knocking on the door. So they were no slouches, man. They were tough.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah.
a heavyweight battle, man, because the Dodgers went in limping to the next round because they took so many punches from the Giants in the previous round. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, if just that ball was just like a foot over from Lamont Wade, we'd be having a different conversation. We'd
Oh,
be having a way different
I know.
conversation.
I know.
When you
Yeah.
when you see what they're doing now and the lineup that they have now, would you be more excited to like join them or face them?
I 100% would love to face them.
That's right.
Again,
'Cause they suck.
no
I'm sure.
disrespect to those guys, because again, I know a lot of those guys. I played with a handful of them. I just, the thing that made me successful in my career is I always loved to put myself up against the best. And right now they are the gold standard of Major League Baseball. And I would love to challenge myself and try and go through that lineup. I think anybody with a competitive spirit and a competitive juice would love to face them. Now, obviously, it would be nice to be with them and to win as much as they do and have the success that they do. But you'd be stupid to say you'd want to be on the worst team in baseball and just get battered by the Dodgers. But
Right.
I think for me, I'd love to challenge myself and face those guys.
Well, Dominic, man, I really appreciate you giving us your time. It's been really fun, really cool to hang out. Man, what's besides E3, which you got going on right now? What's I think the most exciting thing for you after Major League Baseball life?
It's going to be nice to just be home. I've got two little boys. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And so as much as I would love to continue to bring them to the ballpark and let them get the experiences like that, but kind of behind the scenes, it'll be nice to just start their adventure and be full-time dad. So as I'm going through E3, that'll be great. I think I can definitely build something there, but most importantly, it's going to be taking time to be at home, be with them, be with my kids, and see what ventures they want to go down. If they want to play, then I'm here for them. I've had a little bit of experience that I can I can hopefully steer them in the right directions. But
Right.
Ultimately, just being dad and being a good husband to my wife is kind of goal number one. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're super happy to have you home more often now. So that's
for
awesome.
sure. They put me to work, no doubt. They do. They keep me on my toes, but hey, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for coming and reminiscing with us. And yeah, man, really hope to have you on again and hang out.
Hey,
Yeah,
anytime, man.
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate the invite, guys. I always love talking about 2021 Giants baseball. So you got somebody here all the time.
Awesome. Yeah. So if they have another bad year this year, we might have to make this a yearly thing.
Hey, they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, man. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Awesome times in Giant Land. Now we got to get back to the here and now, unfortunately, and back to, because everything's about the Dodgers again. This is kind of weird.
Whoa.
What?
How are you gonna tie this in?
Well, this is kind of weird because now we're talking about the Dodgers not signing somebody that was a Dodger.
Yeah.
Jack Flaherty's gone. I know you're shedding tears. You're upset.
I'm really thankful for what he did here, man. We
Right.
didn't have a rotation. He stepped in to be our one, and that's not easy to do. And he had really good games. He had a couple of bad ones, but I'll remember the really good ones because we've ended up winning it all. So really thankful for his time here, and I'm glad he finally got a deal because I know he was just waiting to get offers. He finally goes back to a place that he loved in Detroit. So I wish him nothing but success over there, man. And he leaves a champion, so good for him.
That's a real PC answer, Dave. I was hoping for some fire, dude. I was hoping for.
I mean, if you followed him on Twitter, he's been like arguing against like people trying to talk down to the Dodgers or whatever they're doing, and all this stuff. So like he'll always be in good graces with us, no matter where he goes. Unless he goes to the Giants. Unless he goes to the Giants, then maybe we'll be like, oh man, what are you doing?
What a trash ass. Yeah. I mean, I think he's kind of it's weird that Kikuchi got more money than him. I feel like he's younger.
But to be fair, it's the Angels.
Yeah, that's true. But why didn't Jack Flaherty just sign with the Angels? From what obviously it didn't come, but I don't know. He's been very up and down. I don't know if there's like worry about that. I don't know.
But he had a really good season with Detroit before he got traded to the Dodgers. So I mean, he's found some success there. Hopefully he finds it again.
Right. And imagine if Jack Flaherty stayed in Detroit. Like,
I don't
Detroit
know how
maybe would have won that series.
Yeah, and the Dodgers are probably screwed because who are they starting?
Hopefully that'd be great. Oh, that'd be amazing.
You'd have Buehler and Yamamoto, and that's it. Everybody else, it's a question mark. So,
and both those dudes they like just came when Yamamoto and Buehler came back. It was like they could only pitch like 5 innings, right?
Yeah, Yamamoto was like, maybe 4 because like, yeah. So, I mean, yeah,
you ruined my life, Jack. Thanks, thanks. I appreciate it.
No, you go do your best, Jack. Thank you.
Speaking of ruining lives, I guess the last topic that we have to really get into is Pat Hoberg. I mean, this is not an Angel Hernandez, like not this guy is known for being a really good umpire. He had the perfect game. Was it 2 years ago? Where he didn't miss a call and had the 100% strike zone rating, and he's always known for being very good. The reports, I mean, it's still very early. We don't know too much, but at the moment, it's just found that he's shared a betting account with a friend, who the friend bet on baseball. There's no evidence saying that he manipulated games, no evidence saying that he bet on baseball, but he did delete text messages that was central to MLB's investigation, per Jesse Rogers from ESPN. So, don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, so it's a really unfortunate situation, man, because you're losing one of your best employees who's obviously good at his job.
Right.
But he did, and he supposedly didn't bet.
But when you delete messages, like it kind of makes you look sus a little bit, right? So I guess that's why they fired him. But yeah, I mean, it's just weird, just weird
They
stuff,
can,
man.
but I think they can how do you say? Look them up. I don't know. I guess I don't know words right now, but like you can why can't I think of the word to
get the
say?
transcripts of the text you're saying.
Yeah, like you can get them back. Like if you go through like the service provider, I think like there's people don't get away with murder because they deleted their text messages. Like
No,
you can get
but
them
I mean,
back or resurface them.
it does make you look suspicious, though, at the
Right.
very least. And they already had an incident with Ipe, so Ipe. But let's just nip this in the bud right quick, So I don't know. Hopefully it gets
MLB was
resolved.
like, we did one cover up. We can't do another cover up. It'll just be too many cover ups.
The FBI won't cooperate with us this time, right? Yeah.
They said we get one cooperation. We can't have two.
You get
Yeah.
one cooperation per superstar. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Pat Hoberg, the umpire superstar. No, that I think no matter what, even if he didn't delete text messages, they would have fired him anyways. Because I mean, being found like sharing a betting account with, being connected to betting so closely right there, especially when that guy betted on baseball games, like I think that's still a fireable offense, which really sucks because this is like I don't know what the line is, but I don't know. I feel like if you're just an umpire, just don't bet. I mean, I guess we have to figure out how much umpires make,
right?
Yeah, like when you're an umpire, how much money do you make, or is it worth it to like, do you make enough money to be like, well, you have to shut this off completely, and you're like, okay, or is it like, I don't know. I think that's something that I'm gonna have to Google.
Yeah, and it's crazy, man, because then you have all these sites that are on MLB, or you see the
right,
in between like segments, you'll see like, oh, bet whatever, blah blah blah, blah whatever, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's, I don't know. It's just very weird to me. You see a lot of betting sites during baseball games, during baseball shows, and yeah, just funny.
Yeah, so baseball umpires earn anywhere between $120,000 to $300,000 annually. Yeah, that's you should just stay away from betting, period.
Ipe made twice as much as that, right? And my guy said he was underpaid.
Underpaid, underappreciated.
Mind blowing.
I'm the lone guy with the Ipe sign. Like he was framed. He did nothing wrong. He was underpaid.
All the evidence, all the things he says is right in your face, and you're like, no, it wasn't him.
It's AI. I don't want to hear it, and I don't want to see it. So yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, why risk it? Like, I don't know. That's just the only thing. You can't just risk that sort of job. Like, there's times where like a regular 9 to 5, like you can't do this because you could get hurt, and then you can't come into work, and it's like, dude, I make $40,000 a year. You can't tell me anything when I go home, or like you gotta show up whenever we ask you to. No, I don't. I make $35,000 a year, and you don't pay me enough to be on call 24/7. Like that makes sense, but you're making $200K a year. And they're like, hey, you just can't bet on sports. You want to go to Vegas and play poker, go to the casino, whatever, bet on anything but sports. Cool. But you can't bet on sports. I think at that point you just gotta.
The fact that he was such a good umpire too is just like everything's so weird, because it didn't look like he was trying to angle any games or make him, push him in a different direction or anything. Like, it was just, he was doing his job. So
right.
I don't know. It's just a whole weird situation, but yeah, he was going to get fired regardless. You're probably right. Like, it was too close to it. You knew about it. I'm sorry, dude. You got to go.
Yeah, it's like one of those, like, I'm so bummed, but there's nothing we can do. Like, Gosh, it would have been way better if it
Pretty
was like
much.
in, a Rob Drake or, somebody like that. I know Angel Hernandez already retired, so you can't use him, but whatever. Yeah. What can you do?
Not much. Just watch it happen from over here.
Right. Well, Dave, this has been very good.
We want to thank our guest, Dominic Leone, for spending some time with us. And like he said, he had it was a speck in the moment when he pitched to Yadier, or when he pitched to, like they didn't think about it much, but to him it was huge. That's how we feel. Thank you for spending a little bit of time for us. For us, it was huge. For him, it was just another day. But
giving us the
really,
insight
really
of 2021.
Yeah.
I know in the grand scheme of things, we'll probably get buried by saying that was the biggest a moment in the rivalry, because it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? What about Juan Marichal, kicking people and, beating up Dodgers and stuff? Like, yeah, I get it. But it's like, I wasn't alive. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is one of the best things you kind of lived. I mean, Puig and Bumgarner was cool, but this was man,
the fact that the division race was so intense and so close, and the fact that you got to face each other in the playoffs, it made it that much better. Like, oh, okay, let's settle it now, face to face, kind of thing. And it was just so awesome. That season was great.
To go to Game 5 and just that one single is what decided it.
I'll always say though, it should have been the NLCS. They robbed us with the format because it's just ridiculous. But
like I said, the whole format's messed up when it's like, Giants won 107 games that got bounced in the first round. It's like, but they lost to a 106 win Dodger team. Like, it's not the same as a 100 win team getting bounced out by an 88 win team. Like, that's way different,
Yeah, but you still lost to a wild card team, buddy. You still lost.
But at the same time, did we though, or was MLB the ones who control the winds and control all the weather machines?
Are you saying that umpire?
They pushed the wind to the right, so Lamont Wade's home run didn't happen. It's a conspiracy, man. I mean,
Flores was going to strike out the very next pitch either way,
Flores,
so it doesn't matter.
He didn't swing, and he would have walked. He would have walked.
Maybe that umpire had money on it too. Who knows? Either way, we went through.
Gabriel,
and
whatever, man. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for hanging out and joining us. We'll be back a little bit later this week. Hopefully, we're going to be we'll be doing a live on Thursday.
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll be going live on Thursday. So come and hang out with us then. Hopefully, we'll get some breaking news. If not, we'll be doing our NL West draft. We got to finish it up. I gotta finish my team, and everyone's got to see that I got way more ball than Dave. So,
hey man, what other news do you want? You got Luka. You got players reporting early. Like, everything's good here, man.
We're already there. The MLB is tweeting that Shohei is just, his presence is around. So whatever. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform, as well as YouTube. And the socials. Make sure to follow us on your socials. Instagram, Benches Clear Podcast. Twitter, Benches Cleared P. Yeah, you know me. And TikTok, Benches Cleared. Dave, what do you got for him?
We'll see you Thursday, man. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Thursday, live show. Come hang out. We'll see you then.